Now, Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo have postponed a planned meeting to discuss a deal to curb Congo's M23 rebel conflict. In a statement, the Congolese government said the cancellation of the Luanda tripartite summit was due to the Rwandan delegation's refusal to participate. But the Rwandese government says a postponement of the summit allows time for the dialogue proposed by Angolan President João Lourenço and former Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta. Rwanda says the summit would not have resulted in an agreement, accusing the DRC officials of continuously issuing threats of pursuing regime change in Rwanda. The event was meant to be a rare face-to-face meeting in Angola, where long-running negotiations have sought to ease tensions between the two neighboring countries linked to the almost 3-year M23 insurgency. The peace plan was aimed at dismantling Rwanda's defensive measures in exchange for Congo eliminating a Hutu rebel group, the Democratic Forces for the Liberation of Rwanda, FDLR. Rwanda denies fueling the rebellion in North Kivu and accuses Congo of recruiting FDLR militants. Let's get more on this. Our correspondent Chris Ochemringa joins us live from Kinshasa, and from Kigali we have Ethan Tishobia. Gentlemen, both of you, welcome to Africa Live. Thanks for joining us. Chris, let's start with you. Chris, there was so much hope riding on this meeting. So what happens now?
Well, Richard, from the look of things, the two sides will continue fighting until they agree to get back to the negotiating table. We've been hearing that there's been an escalation of fighting in Lubero territory in North Kivu province in the east of the DRC since this morning, and this fighting has been going on for about a week now. There have been heavy weapons and light weapons being fired at each other's positions, and so it's a very, very sad development. There was a lot of hope that there would be a peace deal reached between President Paul Kagame and President Tshisekedi, but the thing that really made this deal fail was the insistence by the Rwandan delegation for the DRC government to hold direct talks with the M23 rebels. The DRC government has repeatedly said they will not have any talks with the M23 because they are saying this is a proxy of Rwanda. They want to talk directly with the people who are the aggressors, Rwanda. But Rwanda has been denying this. So it's the DRC Minister of Communication and Minister of Foreign Affairs are expected to hold a press conference in about an hour or so, and they will tell what is going to happen next. But certainly many people are disappointed that the two leaders haven't met and there's been no deal signed by them to have a ceasefire. Richard?
All right, let's bring Ethan into this conversation. Ethan, you've heard what Chris has had to say. Ethan, what's the next step according to Rwanda?
So according to Rwanda, the next step should, with the meeting that happened this afternoon between the mediator, the facilitator, President Lourenço Bangola, plus the Congolese President Felix Tshisekedi and the former President of Kenya, there's an expectation, hope that there's going to be a breakthrough on what Rwanda demands when it comes to settling the grievances between the parties involved, and they'll be hoping that from the meeting that is happening one-on-one between President Lourenço and President Tshisekedi, plus the former President of Kenya coming in, there's going to be a headway in regards to Rwanda's grievances on what they think that M23 should be on the table, get to hear their issues, but also agreeing, the Congolese government agreeing to fight and eliminate the FDLR before Rwanda comes to discuss with the Congolese government, or rather President Kagame and President Tshisekedi meeting face to face. Until those grievances are addressed, we do not see any breakthrough unless they agree to, for some parties, all the parties involved agree to lose or even win to reach a consensus on some of the grievances all parties are raising in this matter.
All right, with that being said, let me ask you both. This question is for both of you. Rwanda and the DRC signed a key document 3 weeks ago to advance the peace process. How does today's hiccup impact that agreement? Let's start with you, Chris.
So this failure of the talks is a big blow to the concept of operations document that was signed by both the ministers of foreign affairs of Rwanda and the DRC. And what it entailed, it was about, you know, the DRC hunting down the FDLR rebels, disarming them, and then Rwanda would withdraw its troops from eastern DRC. And so before this deal, I mean this document was signed, there was a clear sign of mistrust between both sides. There were statements coming from the DRC and from Rwanda which clearly showed that these two sides did not trust each other. They were just doing this, I think, because the Angolan president was pushing this. The African Union, the United States and UN, all these international organizations have been calling on both sides, you know, to sit down and resolve this, this conflict peacefully. But it looks like they all have hardline positions. So it's really a sign of bad times to come. We're waiting to see what will go on, whether the international community will intervene and call them to order to agree to sign this document once again. But it's clearly a very bad sign in the DRC.
All right, Ethan, let's hear from you. Ethan, what's the impact?
So what there were already the ministers of Rwanda are already, the foreign affairs minister of Rwanda was already in Angola, Ambassador Ndurungi, and there was hope that even the president would travel today to Angola to sign an agreement. And then later in the morning, we saw a statement saying that there will not be any agreement signed. And again, like Chris Chamringa mentioned, there is all grievances, one party saying that they cannot do this. There's a lot of mistrust, like he said. And until that trust comes in and they're able to address these challenges that every other party is raising, we do not see any breakthrough in the near future. But like the postponement they're mentioning, is that should allow both parties to reflect on their request, on their demands, and see which area they need to address. And for like the DRC saying that the M23 is largely the Congolese, rather the Rwandan army, and then the Rwandan army saying you need to actually acknowledge that these are your citizens and grant them citizenship, which according to the Rwandan government does not, the Congolese government is not willing to do. Again, it puts it to a question of how will the FDR be fought? How will the M23 be handled? Would they be considered Rwandans or Congolese? So those are some of the issues that parties are raising, and it will take time. We wait to see how this postponement will affect the discussions and the dialogue and the implementation of the Rwanda and the Nairobi processes.